When it comes to homemade products, we think that we need hundreds of different ingredients to make our own. And it makes sense, like if you go to the store and you look at the labels, you're like, wow, do I actually need 30 plus ingredients to make soap or hand cream or face cream or floor soap or whatever it is? The reality is you need a handful of those ingredients to make any skincare product and any home product you want that is also functional at the same time. Today, we're gonna do just that. We're gonna make a wooden floor soap. I'm quite excited about this. Stick until the end because I'm gonna show you a way on how to make the essential oil blend super long lasting. This is quite different than other times actually, because usually when we make an essential oil blend, as you know, we incorporate certain things like base notes to make it more long lasting. We'll do the same again today, but today is a bit different because usually we add the essential oil blend in the soap. And soap making environment is an environment of high pH and high temperature, which makes a lot of our essential oil ingredients actually degrade and evaporate really, really fast. But today we're following a different route. So I'm quite excited for this. I'm quite excited to actually make the soap and clean my house today because I haven't done this for a while. And yes, I really need to clean my house, guys. Today is that day. Let's go ahead and start. So for this floor soap, we are actually only going to use 3 oils: olive oil, coconut oil, and castor oil. Olive oil is very conditioning due to the high concentration of oleic acid. Coconut oil is very cleansing due to the high concentration of lauric acid. And castor oil adds richness and thickness to our lather due to the concentration of ricinoleic acid. So let's go ahead and actually calculate our recipe. So we use a platform that is free and it's called soapcalc.net. Soapcalc.net is basically a soap calculator. It's one of the most helpful things in soap making. Why is that? In order to make soap, we use the saponification reaction. The saponification reaction happens between an oil like coconut oil, olive oil, castor oil, shea butter, beef tallow, and so on. And then we use a base. This base can be most commonly sodium hydroxide, or if you're making a softer type of soap or a liquid soap, potassium hydroxide. And then we mix this base with those oils and what you get is soap. Of course, you need to calculate how much lye, how much base you need in order to saponify all of your oils. You can do that on your own, but it's much easier, convenient, and also safer to do it with a soap calculator. So let's go ahead and do that. So in the type of lye, you have 2 options: sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxide. Because we're making a softer type of soap, we're gonna use potassium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is what you use to make a very solid bar like this big boy right here. And we're gonna use 90% pure potassium hydroxide because that's what I got from my supplier. As a total weight of oils, we are actually going to use 250 grams. We are not going to make that much. We just need a small quantity of soap, and 250 grams of total weight of oils will do the work. Lye concentration basically means how much lye we're going to have. Your lye concentration is 33%. That means that 33% is lye and 67% is water. Superfat, we're gonna keep this actually very low. What is superfat? Superfat is basically the extra oils you add in your soap that do not react with lye. These are the oils that do not transform into soap, they stay in their original raw form. So if I'm making olive oil soap and I'm adding 5% superfat, it means 5% of the olive oil added has actually not reacted with lye. It has stayed as olive oil, and this is done intentionally to make the soap more moisturizing, protective for the skin. In our case, because we're making something for the floor and we don't want the floor to be super oily and slippery afterwards, we're gonna keep superfat as minimum as possible. Fragrance, we're gonna keep this at 40 grams per kilo, but as I said, we're gonna use a different technique for essential oil blend, as you will see in the end. And for oils, we're gonna go ahead with olive oil. Then we're gonna go ahead with coconut oil, and then we're gonna go ahead with castor oil. So olive oil, we're gonna use 83%. This is a very high amount of olive oil, and we do that because olive oil, once it reacts with lye, it leads to sodium oolate, and sodium oolate is a soap molecule that is very conditioning. And this is perfect, as you understand, for wooden floor. You want something that is conditioning and not too harsh for our floors. If we were making a floor soap for a different kind of material, like different type of textiles, for example, then we might have wanted something that is more cleansing, and then we would have increased the coconut oil concentration. But now we want something that is protective for the floor, something that is conditioning, and therefore we're gonna keep olive oil high. Coconut oil, we're gonna keep it at 12%, which is a relatively low amount of coconut oil. It will add some cleansiness because coconut oil, once it reacts with lye, it leads to sodium myristate and sodium laurate, and those are two substances that create a lot of bubbles. And then castor oil, we'll keep it at 5% because castor oil adds thickness and richness to our lather. We don't want too much, because if you add too much castor oil, you might make your soap lather a bit sticky, and we don't want to be sticky. Then I'm gonna click View Recipe Summary. And here, as you will see, you have all the information you need. Here it says 249 grams of total oils. So something happened in our recipe. Let's go ahead and see what happened. Okay, for some reason, this went down to 249, but it's actually 250. There you go. Now view recipe summary, and we have how much olive oil we need to add, how much coconut oil, how much castor oil, how much water, and how much lye solution we need to add to make this soap. And I cannot wait. Let's start. And a quick pause here. If you want a free PDF system that shows you how you can make 6 different skincare products with only 7 ingredients, then comment Perry, I want the system, and I will send to you as soon as I see your comment. This is to prove to you that you don't need 100 different ingredients to make soap or other skincare. You only need a very few ingredients. Understand the why behind those, the fatty acid profile, understand formulation, tweak the ratios, and you can create many different skincare products. I love this idea of simplicity, this idea of minimal skincare, making your own products at home with the least amount of ingredients possible. And not only that, but making skincare that actually works and it's functional and bioactive. So let's go ahead. First, we're gonna start with 207.5 grams of olive oil. Then we're gonna go ahead with 30 grams of coconut oil. And then we're gonna go ahead with 12.5 grams of castor oil. Now let's go ahead and bring this over a double boiler to basically melt the coconut oil. And as you see here, we're actually bringing everything over a double boiler. Even though olive oil and castor oil are already liquid, we're gonna bring them to a high heat together with coconut oil, because for this method that we're using now, we're gonna use high temperature to mix our oils and lye solution together. This is not your typical cold process method. In the cold process method, you would basically melt coconut oil, then you would add olive oil and the rest of the ingredients, and you would let your oil solution go down in temperature, usually around 30 to 35 degrees Celsius. Coconut oil is completely melted, and now we're gonna test the temperature. So you can see the temperature is 74 degrees Celsius, and this is perfect. What we're gonna do now is that we're gonna go ahead and basically make our lye solution. So here I took another bowl and I measured 110 grams of distilled water. And now what we're gonna do is that we're gonna add the potassium hydroxide. Once we add the potassium hydroxide, it's gonna be a highly exothermic reaction that is gonna create fumes. So make sure you're in a well-ventilated area. And remember that lye solution is very basic. It has a pH of 14, which means that it's very caustic, and under no circumstances it should come in contact with your skin or other parts of your body. And you always add the lye in the water, never the other way around. Otherwise, you might create a very, very highly concentrated solution, and that can basically start splashing everywhere and create a lot of danger. We're gonna go ahead and add the potassium hydroxide. This is gonna release heat naturally, and once we check the temperature and it's also close to 75 degrees, just like our oil solution, we're gonna go ahead and mix them together. So I'm gonna go ahead and add 54.6 grams of potassium hydroxide. You can see it's boiling on its own right now, because it's very, very highly exothermic. I haven't applied any heat and it's already boiling. So now I'm going to stir it carefully, and of course, most importantly, I'm going to test the temperature, which is 74.9 degrees. Now we have our oil solution, which is around 75 degrees, and our lye solution, which is also around 75 degrees, and we're gonna mix them together. And for that, we're gonna use a stick blender. So I'm gonna slowly add the lye solution in the oil solution. And now I'm gonna transfer our soap butter inside a pot. I'm gonna turn on the heat slightly, and we're gonna basically cook it. This right here is the so-called hot process method. We know that by increasing the temperature, we're speeding up saponification, and at the same time, we're letting all the water that was in the lye solution evaporate slowly. And in the end, we're gonna have a soap that will look, we're gonna have basically a soft type of soap, something that will look like a soft paste that we're gonna use to make our wooden floor soap. So as you can see right now, it starts thickening up. So a lot of the water has already evaporated, and soon we will reach a phase where it will look like mashed potatoes. So once it basically looks like mashed potatoes, after that mashed potatoes phase, it will start looking like a translucent gel, and this is the so-called gel phase. And a while after that, our soap will be basically ready to be put into some molds, and we could basically use it right away. Ideally, you want to let it sit for a couple of days to harden and to let any perhaps remaining moisture evaporate. But honestly, guys, I cannot wait. I need to clean my house, so I'm gonna use it today. So look how little soap has been left. Soon we will go through the gel phase where it will start shining. It will start showing this translucent gel where glycerin will pop out and make this shiny basically feel. So this is quite exciting right now. Have you ever guys made bechamel, where you basically have to first mix the flour with the butter before you add the milk? I feel like this is how it looks like. And look how little soap we have left right now. It has basically all of the water has evaporated. So now I'm gonna basically place it into a mold, and I can't wait. I'm very impatient, so I'm gonna use it right away. And now you will be wondering, Perry, you didn't add the essential oil blend. What's going on? Well, I'm gonna show you. We're not gonna add it now. That's why we're doing something completely different. Our soap is ready. And you will ask me, Perry, you didn't add the essential oil blend. Wait a minute. So right now what we're gonna do is that we have our soap ready. Basically gonna just add a bit into some water and use that as a floor soap. So let's talk about essential oil blend. A while back I made this amazing essential oil here. This essential oil blend is basically a mixture of herbal, foresty and earthy notes. It's also made with base notes, which are essential oils of high molecular weight that make the whole essential oil blend more long lasting. So instead of adding it into the soap, we're gonna go ahead and add a few drops of this directly into the bucket with water and soap. And that's gonna make a huge difference. It's gonna be way more intense. Basically, our essential oil blend will not get degraded by the high pH and high temperature environment of soap making. Basically, when you add it in a diluted water solution, the pH is lower. So even then, the essential oil blend does not get degraded as fast, and it will be 10x more intense than if you have added it from the start. I've been doing this for a while and it works perfectly fine. So a few drops of that, and let's go ahead and clean the house. And here's the result. Look at that. This is what we got. And now we're ready to try the floor soap. So here's what we're gonna do now. I have taken a bucket and have added some water inside, slightly warm, and I'm gonna add a little bit of our homemade floor soap. You don't need more. You can see it's quite soft, and this one will basically dissolve very, very nicely inside the water. That's all. I'm not gonna add more. And now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take my mop and I'm just gonna mix it a bit so that the soap dissolves evenly. And now, here's the trick that we're gonna do. We're gonna take our essential oil blend and we're gonna add a few drops of that inside this water soap solution. And trust me, it's gonna be super intense, so you just go ahead and add a few drops, not more, because the whole house is gonna smell. This is a foresty blend. If you want to check out how to make this essential oil blend, please check this video right here. So after adding the essential oil blend, I'm gonna mix one more time and then we're ready to mop the floor. Okay, my place smells amazing and I'm very happy with the result of this product. I'm very happy with the trick to make it more long lasting. using the scent at the very end. And one thing I want to point out about essential oils is that soap is not your normal skincare product. Soap is happening in a very high pH environment because sodium hydroxide, otherwise known as lye, is a very basic solution. So every time you mix sodium hydroxide water solution or potassium hydroxide water solution with your oils like olive oil, coconut oil, and shea butter, you create a very high pH soap butter. And in this environment, basically all the nutrients, antioxidants, vitamins get completely degraded. And a lot of essential oils, they also get mostly degraded. And apart from that, essential oils, the majority of them, like citrusy, spicy ones, they're naturally very volatile. So in a high pH and high temperature environment, they become even more volatile, so they evaporate very fast. So by adding your essential oil blend in a water solution that has a lower pH and a lower temperature, you actually maintain this strong scent throw. And where I store my essential oil blend is that I basically seal it with some membrane and I store it in a dry and dark place. It has to be dark because light tends to oxidize and degrade essential oils. And then you let it inside there, and basically when you let it macerate, it becomes better with age. And if you want to go from someone who just copies recipes to someone who understands formulation and the why behind things and is able to design their own recipes based on their own goals, I've developed an ebook that has 15 tested recipes, and it has helped so far 350 soap makers completely transform their soap and skincare journey. If you want it, check the link in the description of this video or the pinned comment. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I love how my place and how my house smells like right now. So I'm very grateful for this recipe. I really hope you make this at home and you let me know how it went and what you thought of this recipe yourselves. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys next time. Bye bye.